Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to Home Church Scotland. Today we're going to be joining together in worship and then diving straight into the Word of God as we hear from Dave Breckenridge, who's going to be giving us our message for this morning. I just want to remind you guys today that as we join together in worship, while we might be apart, we can still join together as one collective voice, worshipping God our Father. But first, before we go into any worship, let's just pray together. God, thank you so much for bringing every single individual person into the world today, and thank you for bringing every single person who has been able to join us for this live stream, God. I just pray that you would bless each individual heart, and that everybody would just have an open heart, Lord, and that they would be receptive to what you have to say today and the message that you want people to hear. God, I pray that today, as every day, that the focus would be on you and nothing else. Amen.
Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have. Nothing compares to the promise I have. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turn the lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Hi, my name's Dave and I'm the pastor here at Home Church Scotland. We're having an absolutely incredible time here as a church family. We're seeing growth right across our church, from kids to youth to students to adults. We're seeing people find Jesus, we're seeing people getting baptised, we're seeing people being set free. We're just having an incredible time as a church family. We just want you to know that whoever you are, wherever you're from, whatever your past, there's a place here for you to belong here with us at Home Church.
I like coming to this church because it's fun, as I get to learn new stuff every week.
I've only been coming to this church for a few months, but ever since the first day that I came here, everyone's been so friendly and welcoming.
So I was baptised here a couple of weeks ago, and it's really fun.
The youth group makes me feel comfortable and like I'm not being pressured to do anything that I wouldn't want to do.
Whether you have any religion or no religion, you'll be made very welcome here. So come along and join us here at our services.
This is my home.
This is our home.
This is our home.
This is our home.
This is Home Church and there's a place here for you. We're going to continue today through the story of Joseph. I don't know about you guys, but I think sometimes, when I speak to people, new Christians of different ages and whatnot, they'll all say that sometimes they find the Bible harder to read than at other times. And I suppose I just want to encourage you That happens to everybody, and it happens to pastors as well. I've been reading this week and really trying to get my head around what I feel I have to bring today, and it's not come as easily to me as what it normally would do. So even as I sit here right now, ready to, read some of the word and share it with you, I'm really trusting God to speak through me, because I'm feeling really weak this week myself and kind of feeling powerless to do anything decent, if I'm honest. I'm just really trusting that God's going to give me something as I go through this that's going to mean something to someone, and I hope that He does that. I'm going to try and cover 2 chapters today of Genesis, chapter 43 and 44. There's a lot of narrative in it, and for me probably, the best thing to do, we spent 2 weeks on chapter 42, so I'm just going to move a bit quicker this week and fire through 2 chapters and just see what God has to say. But before we read it, let's just pray together. God, I thank you for this awesome privilege to open your word and to try and share it with people, to try and share it in such a way that it would impact our lives and challenges. God, I can't do this on my own. Not a chance. I need you, God, to help me today, and I would just ask that you would flow through me, that you would speak to me, God, that you would put your words in my mouth, that the words that you want people to hear are the very words that would be heard, and not my words. God, I just pray that people would see you in this, and I pray even just as I'm sitting here before a camera and reading this and going through it, God, would you just give some revelation to me for your people today. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So, as we looked at last week, Joseph's brothers they came to Egypt. Joseph gave them some food. He knew who they were, of course, but he sent them home to bring, and said, unless you bring back your younger brother, I'm not going to speak to you again. We spoke about how guilt kind of had a control of their life, really, and took away some blessing that they had. Joseph had given them their money back. Of course, he didn't say that to them. They found the money, but because of the guilt in their life, they couldn't accept the blessing. And every bad thing that happened, they were attributing it back to that guilt that they had in their life from before. And we spoke about the need to give our guilt to Jesus, to ask Jesus to take that guilt away. And then it moved on to the brothers get home, and they go to Jacob, and of course they don't have Simeon with them, they don't have one of their brothers with them, because he was kept as a prisoner in Egypt until the rest of the brothers came back with Benjamin. Excuse me, but they come home and they say to Jacob, we need to take Benjamin with us. And Jacob's going, not a chance. If you remember, Jacob's got this big massive blind spot that Joseph was his favourite, and that led to trouble. And after his supposed death, as far as Jacob's concerned, Joseph is dead. Then Benjamin becomes the favourite, and he's saying to the brothers, it's verse 36 of chapter 41. Jacob their father said, "You've bereaved me of my children. Joseph's no more, Simeon's no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. All this has come against me, saying there's no way you're taking my son. There's no way you're taking my favourite son. There's no way I'm going to lose a son." And then Reuben says to his father, "Kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands and I will bring him back to you." But Jacob says, "No, it's not happening. You're not taking him." And then we hear at the start of chapter 43 that the famine was really severe in the land. And it got to the point that the brothers and Jacob, they had eaten all of the food that Joseph gave them. And again Jacob said, "Look, you need to go and buy some food. Go down to Egypt and get some food." But verse 3 says, Judah said to him, "Look, the man said to us, he warned us solemnly, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you will send your brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with me." And then Jacob challenges him and kind of saying, "Why did you tell him you had another brother?" But the boys were saying, "Well, we didn't know why we were getting asked these questions. We were just trying to be honest." But then Judah says this, which is really significant. Judah says, send the boy with me, Benjamin, and we will arise and we will go that we may live and not die. Both we and also our little ones. Excuse me, coughing, guys. I will be a pledge of his safety. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. Now here's Judah at this point stepping up. Interestingly, of all the brothers, Joseph gets the most page time, we get to know most about him. But Judah's actually the most significant brother in terms of the history of the Bible. A land is named after Judah, and Jesus is called the Lion of Judah. Jesus is in the downline, the lineage of Judah himself. But notice the difference. And actually we see, particularly in chapter 43 and 44, up to this point I've kind of touched on briefly, Joseph is kind of like an example of Jesus, really. But when we get to 43 and 44, Judah's kind of taken on that role as well. If you remember back in the previous chapter, 42, Reuben says, if I don't bring Benjamin back, you can kill my 2 sons. So he's given his 2 sons as security. And Jacob wouldn't allow it, he wouldn't accept it. But here in chapter 43, and this is where it's significant, is Judah saying, I'll be the pledge for his safety, not my sons, not anybody else. But if I don't bring him back and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. Judah took the responsibility on himself. Just as, for me it shines of Jesus. Jesus took our sin on himself so that we would have safety, so that we would have a future. And this is the first point that Judah kind of, in a way, mirrors Jesus like that. So Jacob said to them, if that needs to be done, that needs to be done. Take some honey, take some gifts, take some stuff. Also take the money that they gave you back last time in case it was an oversight. And they let Benjamin go, and off they went down to Egypt with double the money. So it says, when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, it says verse 16, and forgive me for flying through this today. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, bring the men into the house, slaughter an animal and make it ready, for the men are to dine with me at noon. The man did just as Joseph told him. That's significant, I'll come back to that. The man did just as Joseph told him. And brought the men into Joseph's house, and the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, it's because of the money which was replaced in our sacks the first time that we've been brought in, so that assault may fall upon us, so that they'll take us as servants, they'll seize our donkeys. So they're going through all this stuff again. They're living in this position of fear. They're living in this position of guilt. And one of the things I never said last week about guilt, I spoke about the need for giving your guilt to Jesus, and that's fundamental, and that's absolutely right. But one of the reasons why the Bible would encourage us to not sin and to not live in a manner that we're not supposed to live in is to avoid guilt, because guilt always just leads to stuff like this. It just leads to thinking the worst all the time. And you can't go through life thinking the worst all the time. I wonder if there's people watching today and you're almost in this really vicious circle of you wake up in the morning and you wonder what's going to go wrong today. You're going through life and you're thinking, what's going to hit me next? What's the next storm I have to deal with? What's the next disaster that's going to befall me? And that's no way to live your life. If you're living your life like that, I encourage you to try and change that. And the only way to change that, as I said last week, is by inviting Jesus into your life and allowing him to change you. So they were worried about all this stuff happening to them. So they went up to the steward of Joseph's house and they spoke to him and they said, my lord, we came down the first time to buy food, and when we came to the lodging place we opened our sack and all of our money was there. So we've brought it again with us, and we've brought other money down with us to buy food, and they're trying to explain away. They don't know what's happening yet, but they're coming from a position of fear. They're thinking something's going wrong, and they're trying to explain themselves. But then the steward said to them in verse 23, "Peace be with you, don't be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has put the treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money." So he's saying, like, chill out, guys. Calm down. Stop panicking. I got your money. I simply blessed it to you back. Pointing out to them that they missed they missed the blessing because of the guilt that they had in their life, because they were living in such a way, because of what they'd done in the past, because they had unforgiven guilt and unforgiven sin in their life, that they just expected the worst all the time. And again, I'm not going to dwell on it, but when you live like that, you will have a life where you expect the worst all the time, and it's no way to live. But the guy brought their brother out. They washed their feet. The donkeys get fed. They gave their gifts to Joseph, and then they prepared the gift to present to Joseph. And then they sat down to eat dinner together. So it tells us that Joseph came home, and the first thing he did was he asked, if the father was well. Of course, they didn't know that it was Joseph still at this point. He asked about the welfare. He asked, they bowed down to him again, fulfillment of that dream that Joseph had all those years before, the brothers bowing down before him. And then Joseph asks, "Is this your other brother?" Of course, Joseph, remember when he was taken, he was 17, and Benjamin was his younger brother. When Joseph was taken, Benjamin was just a kid. And here he is, seeing him as a man for the first time. But he just couldn't control it. It says, verse 30, that Joseph left the room, for his compassion grew warm for his brother, and he sought a place to weep. And he entered his chamber and he wept there. And then it says he washed his face and he came back out, and controlling himself, he said, "Serve the food." It says they served him by himself and then by themselves, and then the Egyptians who ate with them by themselves, because Egyptians cannot eat with Hebrews, for that was an abomination to the Egyptians. But they all sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in amazement. Portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. Now, I think this is a really significant part of this chapter, actually. It's the last verse in chapter 43, and it's the most significant to me, certainly for us as a church today. Why is it important to tell us that when portions were taken to them, that Benjamin got 5 times as much as anyone else did? Now, I don't believe it's because Benjamin was Joseph's only full brother, and so Joseph was just blessing him more. But actually, as we go through the Old Testament, we've seen an example even with Joseph's father Jacob and his brother. The culture at this time was that the firstborn was the one that received the blessing, and the one that was the most important kid. But time and time again in the Old Testament, we see really God breaking that, and not the firstborn being the one that gets the blessing, and not the firstborn being the one that even gets the inheritance. And here we just see another portion of that this is just saying, unlike the cultural norm, it's not the cultural norm is not what's happening here. And whereas it should have been the oldest that got the biggest portion, it was going to the youngest one. And it's just a reminder to me as a church leader, as a pastor, that when I read this, that God's ways are not the world's ways. And how we as Christians are supposed to live our life is not in the way that the world would expect us to. Not in the way that the world would tell us to. Just because something's done in the world certainly does not mean we should be doing it here. Just because something's acceptable out there does not mean it should be acceptable to us as Christians. Because certain things are done a certain way in the world does not mean we should be repeating that in our church. It's really important that as we continue to grow Home Church and to see more people becoming Christians, that we are focused fully on honouring God. We're focused fully on having a culture of godliness as best we can. Of course, we're going to make mistakes, but we're saints. We used to be sinners. Now we're saints who will still, of course, make mistakes and sin sometimes, but we're no longer sinners. We've been set free. We're not supposed to live like the world. We're not supposed to allow culture to invade the church, but the church should be invading culture. The church should be changing culture, not culture changing the church. And I believe that's a challenge to us today as Christians. It goes on that Joseph had this plan. They ate and they were married together. And then chapter 44 starts, it says, Then he commanded the steward of his house, Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, with his money for the grain. And he did just as Joseph told him. And as soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away in the donkeys. They'd gone just a short distance from the city. And now Joseph said to his steward, Up and follow after the men. When you overtake them, say to them, Why have you repaid good for evil? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks? And by that he practices divination? You have done evil in doing this. So Joseph gives this guy is called a steward. And I don't think that's by accident, right? Joseph says to this steward of his, Go and do this crazy thing. Now remember, Joseph knows these are his brothers, but the other guys don't. But the steward here, he blessed the brothers the first time, it says, and here he is doing again exactly what Joseph tells him to do. And I love this. At no stage does the steward say, Why am I doing this? Why are you doing for these Hebrews what you've never done for anyone else before? But it says that the steward did just as Joseph told him. That's the job of a steward. The job of a steward is not to question the master. The job of a steward is not even to try and make sense of the master in his own head. The job of a steward is to do as the master tells him to do as the master instructs him to do. And of course, as Christians, effectively what we are stewards of what God has given us. Nothing we have as Christians belongs to us. The money we have does not belong to us, it belongs to God, and we are called to be stewards of it. The gifts that we have, the talents we have, they're not ours, they do not belong to us, they belong to God. We are called to be good stewards of them. Even our children, they're not ours. We are called to be good stewards of them. So how do we live a godly life? How do we be not about the culture, and how do we be about God? Simple as we become good stewards. And here's a perfect example of how to be a good steward. You do just as the master tells you to do. So if you want to steward your kids properly, you do just as the Bible tells us to do. It tells us not to exacerbate our children, doesn't it? We need to love our children. We need to bring them up in the ways of the Lord. We need to be careful with the parenting that we do. If we need to be good stewards of our money. Where's God calling us to put our money? Is He calling us to get that new car? Is He calling us to get that new house? Is He calling us to give it to the poor? Is He calling us to use it for mission? Is He calling us to put it into the church? Is He calling us to give it for something in particular? Our job is not to question, but God, what if I don't have enough money for this? Or but what about my future? But what about my job security? But what about this? But what about that? No. If we are good stewards, we'll do what God tells us to do. So if God speaks to you, even if it doesn't make sense, our job is not to question it. Our job is not to try and understand the mind of God, because it's not possible to do that. Our job is simply to say, Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, whatever you ask, whenever you ask, whatever you say, that's what I'm going to do. That's how you become a good steward. And that's what, as Christians, we are called to do. The gifts and talents that you have, God has given you them for a reason. And the reason, I strongly believe, are so that they are used for His glory. And many of us are blessed that with the skills and talents we have, God allows us to do jobs that we love and things that we love to do. But if you know you're gifted at something and you've not given that to God, I want to encourage you, take some time out to pray and to ask God what He would like you to do with those gifts that He's given you. What have you to do with the talents that He's given you? What have you to do with the time that He's given you? We're responsible as Christians to be excellent stewards of all that God has given us. And we can only be good stewards if we are in constant prayer and communication with God, asking Him what to do with what He's given us and making sure we are obedient to His call no matter what, no matter where, and no matter when. I hope that makes some sense to some people. So the steward done that. It says that he overtook them and he spoke them the words that Joseph said, and he said to him, "Why does my lord speak such as these? Far be it from your servant to do such a thing. Behold, the money that we found in the mouths of our sacks, we brought it back to you from the land of Canaan. How then could we steal silver or gold from the Lord's house? Whichever of your servants is found with it shall die, and we also will be the Lord's servants." Now that is a crazy statement to make. So the brothers are panicking, right? The guy's caught, and here's another kind of disaster coming upon them, and then they just blurt out this nonsense that, right, whoever's got it, you can kill him, and the rest of us will be your slaves, the rest of us will be your servants. And but the steward, he just says, like, let it be as you say. He is found with it, shall be my servant, but the rest of you, you're innocent. You can just go back to your father's house. But this verse really, it was a reminder to me. The Bible talks about being quick to listen and slow to speak. And I think if you're unsure of a situation that you're in as a Christian, we can really learn from this. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. No one at this stage had suggested anybody dying. Nobody suggested anyone being killed. And here are these brothers blurting out and being quick to speak and basically saying whoever's found it, you can kill, when that wasn't even in the cards. Sometimes as Christians, as people, we make the rod for our own back because we speak too quickly. We put ourselves in difficult positions because we speak too quickly. We don't take time to think. We don't stop and take time to assess the situation. We just open our mouths, let our belly rumble, and let some sort of nonsense comes out that inevitably and ultimately gets us into trouble. So it's a real lesson for us, really, as individuals, as Christians, as non-Christians, to be honest. Be quick to listen, but be slow to speak. Understand the situation. Don't tie yourself up in knots, and don't just blubber something out that's going to get you into trouble a little bit later on. So the brothers all come back with Benjamin to Joseph, and they're supportive of Benjamin, but they're all worried about what's going to happen. Verse 14 says, when Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell before him in the ground, and Joseph said to them, "What deed is this that you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can indeed practice divination?" The divination actually isn't a good practice, and I don't believe that Joseph was practicing it. But the cup that was taken would have been a cup that he would have been used if indeed that had happened. Remember, at this point they don't know that Joseph is in fact a Hebrew, and divination was one of the things that they practiced in Egypt at the time. It's kind of like, these fortune tellers that look in teacups and all that sort of stuff. It's stuff like that, and it was the religion of really Egypt at the time. So it's really just saying it's a sacred cup, just so you understand what that means. But Judah said, "What shall we say to my lord? What shall we speak? How can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of your servants. Behold, we are my lord's servants, both we and also in whose hand the cup has been found." Now again, different people have different opinions on why Joseph was doing this. Some people think that he was just being vindictive to his brothers and trying to get back at them. Again, I don't buy that. I just think he wanted to take care of Benjamin. He didn't know what sort of a position Benjamin was in at home because of how he himself had been treated. And he wanted to kind of make sure that Benjamin was looked after. But here, just at this point, again, it's Judah stepping up. And I think Joseph starts to realise that the guys have changed. He starts to realise that they're different people because they're willing to take the fall for the younger brother. Judah here is saying, we're all going to be your servants, all of us, and the boy that's got the cup. But Joseph says, far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man who stole the cup shall be my servant, but the rest of you can go in peace to your father. And then Judah, and again, this is where I'm going to finish today. Judah again giving a really clear picture of Jesus. He goes on to explain, and I'm not going to read it because it's a long passage, but it's from chapter 18 and you can go and read it later on. He goes on to explain that the father's at home and he's an old man and his life is tied to the life of his youngest son. He's already lost a boy, and he says if Benjamin goes, the weight of that will kill my father. The weight of that will be too much for my father, and the weight of it will be too much for the young boy. So Judah says, sacrificially, just take me, let me stay here and be the servant in his place. And next week we'll move on to really, this is the point that Joseph tells them who he is, probably because he's seen that change in them. But Judah does this big job of convincing Joseph to let him take the place of the younger brother, so that nothing was on the father that he couldn't handle, so that nothing was on Benjamin that he couldn't handle. And again, that for me, I mean, that he's interceding actually on behalf of Benjamin. Don't do it, please, I'm asking you on behalf of them, don't do that. Take me instead. And it's just such a picture of what Jesus did for me and for you. And I'm aware I spoke a little bit about that last week. If Jesus can take our guilt from us. I spoke about what Jesus went through on the cross. But again, to add to that, he did it because the weight of sin on our shoulders was too much for us to bear. We are not able as human beings to function with the weight of sin that is on our lives, with the weight of sin that's on our shoulders. We're not able to be happy. We're not able to find peace. We're not able to find contentment. We're just not able to function properly as humans. Such is the weight of the sin of the world and the sin in our lives. But in the same way as Judah said, take the weight off them and put it onto me. That's what Jesus did, and more so for me and for you. Jesus lived a perfect life. He didn't deserve to die. He took the punishment that we deserved, and he took it on himself so that the weight, the yoke of sin could be taken off us and we could live in freedom. And sometimes I think we struggle to live in that freedom, possibly for two ways. If I go back to that last verse of chapter 43, it says that they drank and they were merry with him. I wonder, as Christians, do we celebrate enough? The fact that our sins are forgiven are a cause for absolute and complete and utter celebration. We were sinners. We deserved to die. We deserved the future of hell. But Jesus died on a cross and he took that off us. When was the last time you celebrated that? Sometimes I think in church, to be honest with you, we can be too solemn. We can be too down on ourselves for thinking of ourselves as sinners. But we're not sinners anymore. Yes, we're going to make mistakes and slip up and sin, but we are not sinners. Jesus died to take sin off of us. We're called saints. We're called children of God. Jesus does not refer to us as sinners anymore. When was the last time you celebrated that? The church should be a place of celebration. The church should be a place of freedom from sin. I believe sometimes we don't take that freedom because we're being too solemn and we're not taking time to be merry. We're not taking time to celebrate. We're not taking enough time to thank Jesus for what he did for us, to thank Jesus for dying on a cross for us, to thank him for saving us from our sins. It's a miracle. It's absolutely incredible. And of course, the other way for me that we don't live in that freedom is because Jesus has taken something off us, the most incredible thing off us, and we just go back and live in that same way again. Some people seem to have this massive issue with stopping sinning. And I've even heard some crazy people, and if this is your theology today, you need to check your head out, because it's crazy that Jesus died to forgive sin, so it doesn't matter if I sin because I'm forgiven from it, so I can go ahead and do what I want. I've heard people say ridiculous and ludicrous things like that before, but it's just not true. When I think of myself, I've got 4 kids and we've got Steph with us now, and I think to myself, you know, if they say they got themselves into mega debt and I was able, which I'm not, right, but I was able to repay that debt and take them out of it, I would expect them to live in thankfulness, I suppose, that I've bailed them out from their debt. I certainly wouldn't expect them to go away and buy a £30,000 car and put them back into debt again. I certainly wouldn't expect them to go and borrow more money to gamble it on some nonsense. I would expect them to live a life like they'd been saved from the debt that they were in and not go down that road again. I mean, I hope that makes sense. Jesus forgave my sin, so the least I can do is try and live in a way that shows I'm thankful for it, that tries to live in a way that say, I'm not going to keep sinning, I'm not going to take that forgiveness from me for what I've done and go straight ahead and do it again. We're called to live different lives. We're called to be different, we're called to be set apart. We're not called to live according to culture, as I said earlier on. We're not called to live like the world. We're called to be different because we are different, because we are not sinners anymore. And the people in the world are. So if you're in the world, if you're watching us today and you don't know Jesus, then if you ask yourself, if you look deep within, you'll know you've got the weight of sin in your shoulders. There's a peace that you can't find. There's a contentment that you can't find. There's a guilt and there's a shame that you can't break free from. You're living your life and every day you're waking up and you're wondering, what's going to hit me next? What's the next big thing that's going to go wrong in my life? Something's just not adding up. The answer, guys, is Jesus. If you've not accepted him, I encourage you to do that today. There are people watching, probably from our church, possibly from other churches, and you found Jesus, Jesus found you, you gave your life to Jesus, but you're struggling by keeping on sinning. You're struggling to let go of what was going on in the past. That's what I encourage you today. Jesus didn't forgive you so that you could keep on sinning. He forgave you so that you could live in freedom. He forgave you so that you could have a better life now, so that you could live a better life, so that you'd be free from that guilt and from that shame and from that lack of peace and all of that stuff. And there's lots of people listening today, and you're not living in the fullness of life that Jesus died to give to you. And I will encourage you to change that today. In the same way as Judah was willing to give his life up for Benjamin, Jesus literally gave his life up for you so that you would be free. So let's live in that freedom. Let's celebrate our salvation today. Let's be thankful to Jesus for dying on that cross so that we could be free, and let's enjoy the fruits of that freedom. Let's share it with other people. Let's tell people what Jesus has done for us and what he's able to do for them. And again, if you're not a Christian today, can I just encourage you to accept Jesus? I just encourage you to make that decision that you want freedom in your life. You want set free from the things that are bearing down on you all the time. You want to live a different life. You want to make a change to your life today so that you can have a better future, and not just you, but your children and their children and their children and their children, because a decision that you make today could change the life of your family for generations for the better. Make that decision for Jesus today. I encourage you to do that. Let's pray. God, I thank you for this opportunity to again open your word, and God, I just trust that you've spoke through my weakness today, and I trust that you've touched some people and made some sense to some people. And God, I just would ask you, if there's people watching today and they're living that life in sin, they've not let it go, they've never broken free from it. God, I pray that you would help them to make that decision, to fully lay down their lives today, to fully submit their lives to you, to turn from sin. God, would you restore unto us all the joy of our salvation? God, would we know in our hearts, would we have cause in our hearts to celebrate the freedom that you bought for us at a great price on the cross? And would we start to live in that freedom and bless others with it? God, if there's anyone here who doesn't know you, if there's anyone here who needs a touch from you, who needs a reminder of what you did for them, God, would you give them that right now? I pray this all in the name of Jesus. Amen. Guys, if you're watching today and you need a change in your life, would you just be brave? Would you type me, wherever you're watching, in Facebook or YouTube, and myself, someone will be in touch with you to pray with you? Or send me a message, go into Facebook and search for Home Church Scotland, or send me an email, dave@homechurch.scot, and I'll give you a call. I'll be in touch with you today. We can talk about Jesus, I can answer your questions, we'll introduce you to Jesus, and you can start this journey with Him. And many people have done this online since online church started. Many people have given their lives to Jesus. I pray that today is your day, the day that changes your life and your children's life for generations to come. Make that decision for Jesus today. Send me a message and I'll be in touch with you today. God bless you guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to Home Church. I'm Alex and I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what is happening this week. So Tuesday we are back again at 7:30 for Testimony Tuesday, and I will be finishing off my last wee part as to what I have to share and what God has done, and someone else will also be sharing a bit about their testimony. And then also on Thursday in the morning at 10 till 11 we have prayer, so come join us and pray on Zoom with us. And then also throughout the week we have our Bible studies, so we have ones on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, so you can plug into either one of them whenever suits you. And also this Monday there's an announcement coming out, so be on the watch for an announcement later this week as to what is happening with regards to Home Church and the easing of some lockdown stuff. Other than that, guys, we are also very grateful for this month and just the building fund and all those who've given. Thank you so much. But also we have the last week to go. So if you are still feeling that you haven't either given or wanting to give more, then please contact us and be in touch with us at info@homechurch.scot and just let us know on that you want to be a part of our building fund. But that is us for this week. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today at Home Church. I really hope that the message and that the time of worship has blessed you, and that God will continue to bless you over the next coming week. On Tuesday we have our Testimony Tuesday services, so it would be great to see as many of you guys join us for that. I will be sharing my testimony, so that's super exciting. And straight afterwards we have our Zoom call, which is great. It's just a great way to connect and have a little bit of fellowship together, so I hope to see you all there. Take care and God bless.
So